What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, gonna be looking a little bit towards the offseason. This is gonna be kind of a broad spectrum that I'm gonna try to break down a little bit, but this is just starting to lean into the offseason. You know, the NFL season for 2020, it's coming to an end. We gotta start looking on to bigger and better things at some point. So in this video, I'm going to touch on about 4 different positions in order that I think are going to be the most important for the New England Patriots to address this offseason. Now, my number one thing here is going to be quarterback, and I know that a lot of people probably aren't going to agree with this, but it's a must, and it's a must in the sense of not getting past Cam Newton, but it's in the sense of trying to figure out who is your quarterback for the 2021 season. Who's going to be your quarterback for this offseason that you're basing this entire scheme and the offseason around and the additions around, right? Because the Patriots this offseason are only going to have Jarrett Stidham under contract. Let's keep in mind, Cam Newton signed that 1-year deal this offseason. He's a free agent. Now, I don't think he's going to have this huge market, but what if another team does decide that they want to go all out for Cam Newton and they decide to grab him? Then what do the Patriots do? So ultimately, it's just finding that quarterback that you're going to roll with for at least the 2021 season. Would I love to see it beyond? Yes, but we do have to at least focus on the season ahead, which is going to be 2021. So whether that guy is going to be Cam Newton, whether that guy is going to be the draft, whether it's going to be a trade, whether it's a free agent acquisition, you have to figure out who your quarterback is going to be for 2021. That is the most important thing right there. Now, my second most important position here the Patriots will have to address this offseason is going to be defensive tackle. Now, I heard people say edge rusher, and while I think the Patriots could use some help at edge rusher for sure, they do have some pretty nice pieces there, right? They do have Chase Winovich. They do have Josh Uche. You know, if they can get Dietrich Wise back, I think that would be a really good move there. So they definitely have some guys that they can get the job done with, but at defensive tackle, I just don't think that that is the case. Let's keep in mind, Adam Butler, he's a free agent. That is their second best defensive tackle. Carl Davis, who was doing really well before he went on the injured reserve, he's going to be a free agent. Lawrence Guy, your pure defensive tackle, he's going to be a free agent. So really, any free agent and every free agent the Patriots have, defensive tackle-wise, is going to be a free agent. And even before free agency, even before these guys potentially leave and they hit the open market, I've been saying for a while the Patriots could use help at that defensive tackle position. They can add an extra body. They need someone there. And I think that if they add a pure elite defensive tackle, that is going to make the world of difference. And I have been saying this for over a year now, and the Patriots just still haven't done so. Let's look back at the days when the Patriots had someone like Vince Wilfork and just the huge addition, the difference that made to the Patriots defense. I think that they are really one defensive tackle like that away, a guy who can be versatile in stopping the run and applying pressure, because that's super important in today's league because things have changed. But if the Patriots can add a guy like that, it's going to make the world of difference. But either way, even if they don't get that, they have to do something at the defensive tackle position with all of the free agents that they have, with the departures that they're most likely going to have, and the issues that we've even seen this season within the interior of that defensive line, whether it's applying pressure at times, whether it's stopping the run, they need help there at that defensive tackle. So whether that's doing it in the draft, which I wouldn't mind seeing them do, whether that's free agency, whether that's a trade, they got to do something at defensive tackle, because that is going to be vital for this defense heading forward. And like I said, it is going to make the world of difference. I think that at edge rusher, you're fine. I think that within the secondary, they'll be good. You know, it's really that defensive tackle position that has kind of just been underwhelming, for lack of better words, the past couple of seasons. Now, the next one here for me is going to be tight end. And I had trouble figuring out which one should I put here. Should it be wide receiver? Should it be tight end? No matter what, you can make the argument, and I wouldn't tell you that you're wrong. But for me, I think tight end is just a little bit higher on a need, just because of the lack of production the Patriots have had over the past 2 years. Now, we all know in 2020, the Patriots used 2 third-round picks on tight ends in which they traded up for in Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene. Now, this year, they have not done anything. They really have not been a factor. Both have not played every single game, whether that was being a healthy scratch or whether that was being placed on the COVID and or injured reserve list. It's at the point where, as a Patriots fan, I don't even remember what it feels like to have production from a pure and true tight end at this point. The last guy to do so was Rob Gronkowski, and in his final year with the Patriots, he was a shell of himself. I think that we've seen what it's like when the Patriots do have a pure and true tight end that can make a difference. And yes, we haven't seen it since Tom Brady has left, but we've been able to see, even with backups, what it's like when they have a big guy within the middle that they can switch up, whether it's a pass play or whether it's just pass and or run blocking. But both last year and this year, the Patriots rank last in production from their tight ends. In fact, this year, you can make the argument that it's worse compared from the 2019 season, and that's something that I didn't think was possible. But the Patriots are the only team in the league who do not have a single offensive touchdown from a single tight end. The entire season. The entire 2020 season, we have not had a single touchdown from a tight end. Of course, Ryan Izzo being that number one tight end, that's not what you want to see. You know, I think that Ryan Izzo is a good tight end. I like him as a player, but he's not a number one guy. He was not meant to be a number one guy. He's a 7th round pick, number 2 guy at best. I think that he fits that more so number 3 role best, pushing it a little bit for number 2, but there's no way he's a number 1 tight end in this league. He can't be utilized as a number 1 tight end, number 2, number 3 at best, but the Patriots are not going to get the production they need. This offense is not going to take a step forward unless they get a pure, true number 1 tight end. I do think that Dalton Keene and Devin Asiasi are going to take leaps forward as we progress. But what exactly do they bring right now? We just don't know. And I think there's some guys that are nice on free agency market. I think there'll be some guys in the draft the Patriots could look for. But no matter what you got to do, no matter how many times you got to double, triple, quadruple dip at the position, you got to get that production back because not having it is really killing this team. Now, guys, real quick, NFL football does continue on this week, which does have a few surprise teams at the top of the standings. And you might not be able to be at a game this year, but you can still get in with all of the action at BetOnline. Now, no matter how schedules change or players that play, BetOnline is going the extra mile to make sure that you get in on every game imaginable for this season with the fastest updated odds in the industry. And there's always more options to wager than anywhere online. All you have to do is head to BetOnline and take advantage of all of their great mid-season bonuses, offers, and contests. Again, that is BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. And lastly, guys, as you probably could have guessed, the last one here is going to be wide receiver. Now, I didn't know if I wanted to somehow incorporate linebacker in here, but I think that is not a top 4 need ultimately for the Patriots. It's close, but I don't think it's top need. Wide receiver, the Patriots got to do something here, right? The production they're getting, it's not enough. Cam Newton has been a part of that, but these wide receivers definitely are not doing their job. Whether that's Julian Edelman, whether that is N'Keal Harry, whether that is whoever else it might be, the Patriots do have to add someone, and I think their problem is that they need to add a pure and true number 1 wide receiver. You look at what they have right now, they don't have that. Jameer Byrd, as good as he's been, he's not a number 1 receiver. Jacoby Myers, he's stepped things up, but at least for right now, he is not a number 1 wide receiver. The Patriots have pretty spectacular number 2, number 3 guys, but they're being thrusted into a position and a role that they're just not ready for. And that's been proven to be pretty deadly for the Patriots, not just this season, but even last season too. And you obviously have guys that just are not making the impact that you ultimately expected that they were going to. Example, N'Keal Harry, you know, he's not making this impact. He's not really helping this team in any ways that I can think of. At this point, I think that a guy like Dante Moncrief is a much better and much safer option for the scheme, for this offense, and ultimately for this franchise than N'Keal Harry is. I think at this point, the best thing about N'Keal Harry is his blocking, but you could say the same thing about Moncrief at this point. He has equivalent, maybe just a little, maybe not as good as N'Keal Harry, but, you know, it's nothing that's a significant difference. I think that this team has a lot of good aspects to the wide receiver position, just a lot of things that need to get figured out. I think that Jakobi Meyers, he has a role in this offense going forward. They just got to figure out exactly where that's going to be. I think that a guy like Damiere Byrd is someone they have to bring back, a guy that has speed, that can stretch the field. They just can't make him the #1 receiver because that is not what he is. Even a guy like Julian Edelman, if he comes back, if he doesn't, he can't be a #1 guy at this point. He's getting too old. He's dealing with a lot of injuries. He cannot carry this team on his back, and we saw that this season. It's just way too much for him at this point. So at best, I would say that he can only be a #2 receiver, again, if he does decide to stay with this team. Patriots have a lot of different directions that they could go to address the wide receiver position. I know that a lot of people want them to look towards the 2021 draft in order to bring in this young guy, but for me personally, I'm asking for them to go to free agency, or I'm asking for them to look into a trade. Let's get a guy that's proven. Let's get a guy that is experienced in the NFL. A lot of people just keep screaming for the Patriots to get younger, and look it, they did. They are extremely young right now, whether that is Damiere Byrd, Jakobi Meyers, Gunnar Olszewski. They have young guys, and yes, where usually young and youth does come with more athleticism, you do have to remember that also does come with rookie mistakes. These younger guys, they're not going to be as educated as some of these other veterans. And I'm not saying the Patriots need to go out and get a 35, 32-year-old wide receiver, but let's get a guy who's been in the league for some time and actually knows what he's doing. I think that if the Patriots can get a guy like that and a guy who can be your true #1, this is really going to make the world of difference for this team. That's going to be it for today's video. These are the top 4 positions that I think the Patriots do need to address this offseason. What are your guys' thoughts on my list, though? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next one.